أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعلني وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي واشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum everyone, inshallah. Let's continue with our discussion on the supreme sign from the rays that we're studying. And I think we are on page 167. So Faria is confirming it, inshallah. So Faria, I'll wait for your word, inshallah. I think we're fine with starting this because last time we studied about the contingency that we saw, the conclusion. Maybe we can go over this. So there was based on how the traveler, as we are all traveling in this universe, was looking at the cosmos again, and he saw that everything in the cosmos shows that they are dependent and contingent upon the one who brings everything into existence. All right, so if you want, we can start from the second truth. Thank you, Faria. I thought we kind of covered it, but yeah, so all this then pertains to the truth of contingence and forms one wing of the great testimony borne by the cosmos. And that was something beautiful to keep in mind, that no matter what happens, whatever, how you interpret the universe, there's always a sign in that whatever you're looking at, that those things cannot happen by themselves. And the probability example Brother Ali gave is still very powerful to me, because probability from the existential point of view is zero for anything to come into existence. It's always the volition, the will of the one who owns the universe. And everything that emanates shows the signs that it is preferred, it's coming into existence from his absolute will. So let's continue, and for yes, a second truth. So second truth. As for the second truth that proceeds from the total scheme of the cosmos, which is also the second wing of its great and universal testimony, it is as follows. So this is also something that is in the grand scheme of the universe, of the cosmos, and forms the second wing of its great and universal. So it's also something that alludes to or allows me to witness it, because it shows and displays it. So it's as follows. There is to be seen a truth of cooperation among these beings that are attempting to maintain their existence. A truth of cooperation among these beings that are attempting to maintain their existence. And if they are animate, their life, and fulfill their functions in the midst of constantly stirring changes and revolution. Fulfill their functions in the midst of constantly stirring changes and revolutions, a truth that lies far beyond their capacities. For example, the elements hasten to aid animate beings. The elements hasten to aid animate beings. The clouds to help the vegetable kingdom. The vegetable kingdom to help the animal kingdom. The animal kingdom to help the human kingdom. Milk gushes forth from the breast, like the spring of paradise, to succor the infant. The fact that animate beings are given their needs and sustenance in a manner that transcends their capacity from unexpected places. The replenishing of the cells of the body with particles of food through their being subjugated by their sustainer and their employment at his merciful hands. All of these and numerous other examples of the truth of cooperation demonstrate the universal and compassionate dominicality of the sustainer of all the worlds, who administers the cosmos like a palace. Solid, inanimate, and unfeeling objects that nonetheless cooperate with each other in a sensitive and conscious fashion must of necessity be caused to rush to each other's aid by the power, mercy, and command of a compassionate, wise, and glorious sustainer. Unfeeling objects, inanimate and unfeeling objects, cooperate with each other in a sensitive and conscious fashion, must of necessity be caused to rush to each other's aid by the power, mercy, and command of a compassionate, wise, and glorious sustainer. The universal cooperation visible throughout the cosmos, the comprehensive equilibrium and all-embracing preservation, prevailing with the utmost regularity in all things. The universal cooperation visible throughout the cosmos, the comprehensive equilibrium and all-embracing preservation, prevailing with the utmost regularity in all things, from the planets to the members, limbs and bodily particles of animate beings. The adorning whose pen ranges over the gilded face of the heavens, the decorated face of the earth, and the delicate faces of flowers. The ordering that prevails over all things, from the Milky Way and solar system, down to fruits such as corn and pomegranates. The assigning of duties to all things, from the sun and the moon, the elements and the clouds, down to honeybees. All of these great truths offer a testimony of proportionate greatness, and their testimony forms the second wing of the testimony offered by the cosmos. I think we did go a little bit over the second truth for you, I recall, right? A little bit. So the second truth, as I kind of deciphered this a little bit more, all those things that we see in the universe, as the author is mentioning, they are within the constant change and revolutions, as you can see how every day is so dynamic and changing with the seasons and the clouds and rains and thunders and sunny days and all sorts of different varieties of different things are going on and happening. And every being shows that we are engaging with each and every one, everything. For example, when it rains, all these, the water that comes down helps the plants. So what is arranging all that? We can wonder at that. Do the clouds that move, do they know the plant or the animals or the human being that they're going to benefit? Or the wind, does it know the human being or the plants or animals? So everything that is, maybe we may seem that this is something, yeah, normal, or we're maybe explaining it through science, that this is scientific. You know, I know how the system, whatever that atmospheric system works, but if you look at the results, whatever is happening, can those unconscious things explain all those things? That's the thing that, you know, one has to wonder at, all the cooperation and how the operation of the universe is going on. And he gives examples of how the elements, unconscious elements, how are they aiding animate beings? It's a miracle, actually, if you think about it. The clouds to help the vegetable kingdom. All the clouds, I don't know how much they know what the vegetable kingdom's needs are, but they are, you know, so it's, you can look at the clouds, they have no knowledge, no wisdom, no power, but they're employed to help each other out, just like the vegetable helps the animals or the human beings. They have no knowledge of me, but they come and I benefit from them. So who is arranging all this? So this is what the universe actually brings us to who the owner is, who the sustainer is, who is arranging all this, demonstrating. So the universe demonstrates the universe and compassionate dominicality of the sustainer of all the worlds, who administers the cosmos like a palace. And then he gives more examples. You can look at your body parts, however they're arranged, regularity in all things. Look at the planets, the stars. Although we may think the planets or the stars are, you know, maybe not that proper arrangement, but they are all arranged in a particular way. Whoever has arranged them in a particular way. So clouds, honeybees, the sun and the moon, all, of course, whatever we are interacting with in the universe are amazingly arranged and working in a harmony and for you and cooperation.
Thank you. This is very helpful. I remember now. I think we did leave off here, and then I was wondering what the second wing represents. So if you want to shed some light on the second wing. And their testimony forms the second ring of the testimony offered by the cosmos. It was the first ring.
So are you good?
No, I'm just asking you, what's the second ring reference in here? So like a coin has two faces.
Yeah, so second wing is I take it as all this cooperation in between the things in the universe, how somebody is organizing and arranging all this. So the quality of the mutual engagement and equilibrium, preservation. So one wing would be the contingency and the createdness of the things, and the second is the act and how they are working together in harmony.
Thank you.
Okay, inshallah. If anybody else wants to chime in, please go ahead as well. So in brief allusion to the lesson of faith learned by our traveler from the cosmos, we said in the 18th degree of the first station. I think I forgot this one. Yeah, since the Risala Nur has established and clarified this great testimony, we will content ourselves here with this brief indication. In brief allusion to the lesson of faith learned by our traveler from the cosmos, we said in the 18th degree of the first station, there is no God but God, the necessary existent, the like of whom cannot exist, other than whom all things are contingent. other than whom all things are contingent, the one, the unique, to the necessity of whose existence in unity points the cosmos, to the necessity of whose existence in unity points the cosmos. So the cosmos points to the necessity of his unity. The great book incarnate, the Supreme Quran personified, the ornate and orderly palace, the splendid and well-arranged city with all of its surahs, verses, letters, chapters, parts, pages, and lines, with the agreement of its fundaments, species, parts, and particles, its inhabitants and contents, what enters it and what leaves it, with the testimony of the sublimity, of the comprehensiveness, of the truth of createdness, change and contingency, with the consensus of all scholars of the science of theology, with the testimony of the truth of the changing of its forms and its contents, with wisdom and regularity, and the renewal of its letters and words, with discipline and equilibrium, and with the testimony of the sublimity of the comprehensiveness of the truth of cooperation, mutual response and solidarity, reciprocal care, balance, and preservation among all its beings, as is to be clearly observed. All right, so I think we're done with this one. So let's start with the next section, inshallah. So now, if anybody has any comment on that, please, you can share that. So then the ardent and inquisitive traveler who was seeking the creator of the world. So the qualities of ardent and inquisitiveness is important. Who was seeking the creator of the world, had advanced by gaining knowledge of God indirectly through 18 degrees and approached at the end of an ascension in belief to the throne of truth, a station where in the presence of God, he addressed him directly. At the end of an ascension in belief to the throne of truth, a station where in the presence of God, a station where in the presence of God, the traveler addressed him directly. He said to his own spirit, in the noble opening surah of the Quran, the verses that extend from the beginning to the word, Iyaka, you alone, are like a form of praise and encomium, uttered indirectly. Encomium, like an accolade. Yeah. Accolade or to praise or something. To give tribute to something. Yeah. A-C-O-L-E. Like in French. Yeah.
How do you spell that?
It's also in English. A-C-O-L-A-D.
Oh, accolade.
Yeah. Encomium. Yeah. Uttered indirectly. Like a praise, yeah. Form of praise and encomium uttered indirectly. So in the noble opening surah of the Quran, the verses that extend from the beginning of the word, the verses that extend from the beginning of the word, Iyaka, you alone, are like a form of praise and encomium uttered indirectly. But the word Iyaka signifies a coming into his presence and addressing him directly.
It's interesting.
The verses that extend from the beginning to the word, Iyaka, you alone, are like a form of praise and encomium uttered indirectly. So Alhamdulillah bil alameen, ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Maliki yawmiddin. So from till there, it's a praise. You're acknowledging the Lord of the universe. And now Iyaka is now more direct address to your Lord. But the word Iyaka signifies a coming into his presence. So feeling his presence and addressing him directly. So too, we should abandon this indirect seeking and ask for the object of search from the object of our search. So too, we should abandon this indirect seeking and ask for the object of search from the object of our search. For one must ask the sun that shows all things concerning the sun. Since that which shows all things will show itself even more clearly. Since that which shows all things will show itself even more clearly. Just as we perceive and know the sun by its rays, so too we can strive to know our Creator in accordance with our capacities, through his most beautiful names and sacred attributes. So this is how he addressed his spirit. Speak directly, direct communication, addressing him directly. We will set forth here, with the utmost brevity and concision, two of the countless paths that lead to this goal, two of the infinite degrees of those two paths, and two of the abundant truths and details of those two degrees. Okay, so before we go into the first truth, anybody would like to share their thoughts? Ali Murmur saying, cannot hear? What do you mean, Brother Ali?
They don't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear awesome. When Fariha was speaking, I think she was away from the mic. I didn't hear that time.
Okay.
I didn't hear her that time properly.
Okay, Faria was late, really far away. Faria, your voice is kind of low also.
Okay. Inshallah, I'll try to speak.
She's doing the fasting of Maryam. All right, so the first truth. There appears visible to our eye a comprehensive, permanent, orderly, and awesome truth. There appears visible to our eye a comprehensive, permanent, orderly, and awesome truth, one that changes, transforms, and renews all beings in heaven and on earth. With imperious and incessant activity. One that changes, transforms, and renews all beings in heaven and on earth with imperious and incessant activity. Within the truth of that, in every way wise activity, there is immediately perceived the truth of the manifestation of dominicality, and in turn, within the truth of that, in every way merciful manifestation of dominicality, is recognizable the truth of the epiphany of divinity. Within that truth of that, in every way merciful manifestation of dominicality, is recognizable the truth of the manifestation of divinity. From this continuous, wise, and imperious activity, the deeds of an all-powerful and all-knowing doer can be discerned, as if from behind a veil. And from behind the veil of these nurturing and administering deeds of dominicality, the divine names manifest in all things can be immediately perceived. And from behind the veil of these nurturing and administering deeds of dominicality, the divine names manifest in all things can be immediately perceived. Then behind the veil of the beautiful names manifest with glory and beauty can be deduced the existence and reality of the seven sacred attributes. Then behind the veil of the beautiful names manifest with glory and beauty can be deduced the existence and reality of the seven sacred attributes according to the testimony of all creation. In a life-giving, powerful, knowledgeable, all-hearing, all-seeing, volitional, and speech-endowed form, there appears to the eye of faith in the heart, self-evidently, necessarily, and with full certainty, the existence of a necessary existent that is described by these attributes, a single one of unity, known by these names, a peerless and eternal doer, in a form more evidential and brilliant than the sun. For a beautiful and profound book necessarily presupposes the act of writing. Beautiful and profound book necessarily presupposes the act of writing, and a well-built house presupposes the act of building. And the acts of writing, beautiful and building well presuppose the names of writer and builder. And the titles of writer and builder obviously imply the arts and attributes of writing and building. And these arts and attributes self-evidently necessitate one who will be qualified by the names and attributes and be the artist and craftsman. For just as it is impossible for there to be a deed without a doer, or a name without one designated by the name, so too it is not possible for there to be an attribute without one qualified by the attribute, and for there to be a craft without a craftsman. Yes, Brother Ali, please go ahead.
I think we should just think about the content of the text. Now, it is okay to read and go through, but there are really some interesting points that I would like to share. For example, the beginning of the first truth. There were many, I think. Addressing him directly, for example, is also an interesting concept. What do we mean that I addressing to him? Is he the creator of the universe is in front of me, or what am I doing there? That was interesting for me. And prior to this, to describe, we discussed that point on several occasions, that the universe is described as the supreme Quran personified. These are really interesting concepts. Just there on the fourth. So the I think the concept is very important. The Supreme Quran personified on the fourth line, as if the speech is taking a form of a great book incarnate. It means taking the material form that we can see it. So why this expression is extremely important for us, that that two aspects of this, the Supreme Quran personified. One of the aspect is the Quran speech. The other one is uh, personified, materialized, incarnate book of the universe. They are combined, mixed with each other. They become in the mind and understanding of the author an inseparable two parts. We cannot speak, we cannot talk about the speech of the creator without the presence of the universe. So too, can we not talk about the universe and the truth of the universe, what this universe is all about, without the verbal explanations of the meanings that this universe conveys to us. That is extremely important even if we study religious subjects or we study the universe. Nowadays it is called exact sciences, or philosophically speaking, secular sciences. It means biology, mathematics, sociology, whatever. We cannot separate them from each other, because universe becomes a meaningless lumps of matter, meaningless lump of matter, if there was no understanding or seeing the meaning in the existing things. So it becomes a meaningless mass. Whatever you do, it doesn't bring any enlightenment to human expectations, human questions. Just I will say, okay, I am going faster than before. I am communicating with far away distances easily. Okay, so what? Again, temporary excitement, but it becomes meaningless. So I spoke to somebody in Japan now while being in the United States. Yeah, yes, it was my expectation. That's what I want. But what happened? Ultimately, nothing. But it is a great thing that the human nature, human beings, are in a dilemma, in fact. We should really understand this dilemma. I am, if I define myself only in the form of incarnate being, it means body, then I will say, okay, I have to be satisfied with my body. In our practical life, no one, believer, non-believer, regardless, no one gets satisfaction with the tool of the body in order to satisfy his or her expectations.
That shows definitely and explicitly to anybody who has mind that is very interesting. I have something more than what Madi provides me with. I have some expectations. For example, my body gives me the opportunity to hear certain voices from a certain very limited distance, but I want to hear the voices from the other side of the world, from the people whom I love. And I want to see inside the galaxies, inside the atoms. I want to see that. My body says, no, you can't. But there is something with me, in me. It requires much, much beyond the limitations of my body. That's why even those people who don't believe in spirit, they are crazy in find out the means of making tools so that they can go to the Mars, to other planets, to other, if it was possible, the stars, galaxies. We have to search for them. Why? Why do you bother? Because I have something. Ah, yeah. You said you didn't have anything but body. Your body is not enough to the expectations of something within you. Your very scientific studies prove that you do not consist of body only. You have something more. It means you have something within you which contradicts the limitations of your body. Your body cannot answer the expectations of something, some another side of your being, and this conflict continuously hurts human expectations. I want more. I want more. All the departments, most lots of human labor are spent on scientific research. Why? If I am, if I am just a body, why should I bother? What not body? What not? What body? My body does not give me. It means I have something more. This dilemma, this conflict is so interesting. In order to satisfy human beings, we've got to accept, whether we don't believe in God or something, we do not consist of body only at all. That is exactly the same with the universe. The supreme book of, great book of, a book, incarnate book of the universe. And in the conditions of this universe, on the other side, this life, if I have my spirit but not my body, again, my spirit cannot operate. Even when I use the telescopes of microscopes, when I use them, still I use my eyes. It means, yes, we have two aspects in our existence, two elements in our existence, yet dualism is not possible. What do I mean by it? Separating human beings into two is not possible. Exactly in the same way, the universe has two aspects: what the material appearance is and what what the meaning and the qualities manifested on it. Again, you cannot separate from each other. Simple example, if there was no book, there would be no meaning available for me. If there was no speech, it's the same. There would be no meaning conveyed to me. Exactly. So the meaning cannot be transferred unless they are put in a physical form, incarnate form. That is my reality within myself, with my relationship with the universe. And as far as the universe's nature is concerned, it is also the reality of the universe. That is why it is impossible to separate the universe from the book which reads, from the speech which conveys the message of the universe. That is why we cannot study the universe without the guidance of the speech. We cannot study the speech, the Quran, without the guidance of the evidence which are driven from the universe. Exactly the same. Without my body, my spirit cannot operate in this creation. And without the spirit, my body is not satisfied or no good for me at all. It is nothing for me. For example, those people who are living vegetable life, they have the body, they have life, but their spirit is not functioning. What is good for them to exist in this world? Nothing, meaningless. So that was a very interesting combination of the terminologies put together in a very concise expression. The supreme Quran personified equals to the universe. Definitely, when we are studying the Quran, we should never ignore the evidence to look for, to search in the universe what it says, the to understand the evidence in the universe. And also, while we are doing our scientific researches in the universe, we should never ignore to put the Quran on the same table of my lab and refer it to each other. That is the lacking point, unfortunate side of this age. Secular science goes back to four, even 5 centuries back, because of the misfortune, if you like, of the Christian way of understanding religion. That is that costs us a lot, and we have to be very careful not to act in the way that the Christianity acted that time. But unfortunately, this case is not very clear among the believers of the Quran. And there is an inclination to liken the interpretation and understanding of the Quranic teaching like the Christians understood the Bible literally in their time period. These are really, really interesting points. And I just wanted to share my understanding. The other one is the second point, if you don't think I am speaking a lot, uh, let me put my mark on my book. The other thing is addressing his presence directly, which is described here, you alone. We worship you alone. We seek aid. What do we do with that? How do we do that? Of course, if someone does not identify or define himself, as primarily a spirit being. Our human side, we say it, or human qualities. We use this phrase to represent the word spirit because spirit is used in many meaning in English. So our human side, human feelings, our human feelings must be directed to their creator directly, speaking to you. What do you want? For example, do you want beauty? So address the source of beauty in the universe that you communicate with anything beautiful, colorful, exciting, tasty, whatever you like, or perfect order in the existence of something, working incredibly miraculously of the animals, plants, or planets, or galactic beings. These, we have to always say that the qualities manifested in their existence corresponds, relate to my spirit, not my body, my spirit. So I have to present the qualities manifested in the universe to my spirit, which requires those qualities. My spirit is not satisfied with anything of this universe, but they are just signals, signs. So I have to also see that. Another third point I wanted to share with you, just a minute, I have to put my mark, that exciting points. So what is this? Imperious and incessant activity. What does it mean? Imperious and incessant activity. Okay, I see incessant used in the language, but imperious, even I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know what it means, but I can. If somebody helps me, I will be happy to understand.
Like imperial with authority.
Sorry?
I'm saying like imperious from imperial with authority. I would say like a king or
I
something.
see. All-encompassing authority, huh?
Yeah.
Invading. Yeah, all invading. Okay, I will write all invading, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. Anybody can share that.
I mean, you are responsible for yourself, man. If
Yeah, yeah.
anybody wants to explain, if it is wrong, let them speak. They are also human beings, free human beings. So let me see.
And incessant is continuous, basically,
Yeah,
non-stopping.
yeah, yeah. In Arabic, imperis mustawli. Yeah, all invading is a. Yeah, I like this word. Incessant, continuous. Yeah, never ending, and with no incessive. Incessant also, as I understand, never has any gap, any stop. So, why is it that? Why is this aspect of the universe is important? First, are we seeing that, experiencing in the universe that universe never ceases to exist? Universe's order never ceases to continue. Yeah, I think we do. We don't see one day a gap in creation and suddenly we came into back to creation again. No, at all. Continuous. No, okay, incessant. All right. Is it imperious? This is the problem now. What do you mean by problem? There are many kinds of creation, but they all point to the same qualities. The same qualities, which means in order to create one cell, one has to have all knowledge. It means infinite knowledge, because every cell has the record of everything previous, everything afterwards, whatever it is existence right now. So all of them are combined there together. So if someone has a limited knowledge, doesn't go into the very deep past and very deep future, cannot make the cell. And also that is one dimension of it, that is time dimension of it, but at the same time, space dimension is also taking place at the same time. That's what they call a space time nowadays, because they cannot be separated. But at the same time, this cell has no limitation in its activities to communicate with the rest of the whole universe, rest of the organs, rest of the body, rest of the other elements in the universe. No, they are all interlocked with each other. They are all interrelated with each other, intermingled with each other. They cannot be separated. Why? Of course, we will go to the to this absolute, infinite qualities to be recognized. Why? If the action, as the following word 168 says, the second paragraph. Now, if there is an act, yeah, if there is an act, there must be an actor. But this actor, who is this actor? Some people say this actor is the nature or matter itself. That's what they say. Some people say that. Okay, for the matter to act as we see in the universe, is the matter, does the matter to act as we see in the universe have the qualities to act in an imperious and incessant manner? Do they have any quality? No, we have to search who the actor should be. So the author uses the building and the act of house. Looking at the house, of course, it says it must have a builder. This is an act of building, and then goes on a builder. There must be a builder, and if there was a builder, and also the attribute of building, it means we call it attribute of engineer, and then this engineer requires a quality. It means the engineer or architect. This is the name, architect. There must be a word for it, the architect. And the architect must be a one who is able to uh, perform this well, I can't really say it, imperious and incessant activity. It means it has some sort of qualities. These qualities must have the ability to perform its act in an imperious and incessant way. That is necessarily the stages of reflection we have to take. We have to have a journey in order to reach who is the one who has the quality of these attributes. Who is this one? So these attributes necessitates a being whose essence is able to perform this universe as we see it, as it is acting. So every action has a quality, and these qualities are manifested everywhere. with no all embracing all the universe materially, um, uh, I mean space-wise and time-wise. And this manifestation of the quality of one, for example, let's say attribute one for the power, knowledge, was wisdom, whatever it is. All these qualities manifest everywhere at the same time throughout the timeline we can think of, equally, no hesitation, with no hesitation, no interruption, no sign of tiredness. What does it mean? The one, the essence of the thing, that being who has this quality of the attributes must be infinite, absolute. There is no other way to explain it. This journey of uh, reaching the source of originator, creator of the universe is necessary for us to perform not only once, every time, very quickly, as soon as we see the act, and then definitely the actor, the name of the artist, artistry, and first of all, there is an artist manifested there. There must be an artist, and this artist must have a quality which is permanent with it, so that every time, everywhere manifests itself with no cessation, incessantly. Oh, who can be? That is what I have to be always in the presence of that being. Anytime I see an act, it must come to my mind, to my word, and I have to communicate. I see a beautiful creature, anything of this world. I have to remember that being, and I have to say, your, whatever the qualities I see, your quality here, your power is here manifested. I witnessed it. In other event, your power, again, the same infinite power is manifesting itself here. I must find myself in front of this creator, and this consciousness is really uh, very human and necessary for us to keep, to be kept alive continuously. It must be always alive with us, which is also summarized in the language of the Quran. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. I know it is you and I belong to you. I acknowledge you only as the artist, as the author, as the creator, as the owner of this action that I am experiencing now. Oh, it is so relaxing, so comforting, free from all fears of accidental happenings, calculations of what will happen to me, how about my children, how about my friends, what about my illnesses. Oh, relaxing. I am in front of the absolute being. I mean, this is priceless. This pleasure of security, serenity, peace, satisfaction is priceless. What are we doing? We are going to, we look after something new fashion or something in order to satisfy ourselves. We should never be cheap to ourselves. Our human quality requires the absolute being and to be always with him. That's why we have to repeat this process, the process of reaching the essence of the absolute being, it means essence means the necessary existence of it, the reality of its existence, not the real essence, really. Reality of his existence and being present in our feelings. Try to keep it alive, always with me. I hope I could do that. That is the only satisfaction. Of course, I can say, if someone tells me, or the speech of the Creator tells me, put your trust in God, I will say, how can I? This is just harming me. That is simplistic. Put your trust in the one who is the creator of the thing that you, according to you, it is harmful to you. This is coming from him. Understand that there is a wisdom in its existence for your own purpose of existence in this world, so that you will turn your life into a meaningful, worthwhile living life, so that you will get to know how to communicate with him through endlessly different, diverse manifestation of the creation. Nothing is the same in the universe. No time is the same. There is no repetition in the creation. Seemingly repetition is continuous speech, introducing himself to me, speech, communication of my creator with my human side. So very comforting, but unfortunately, why I keep forgetting this. I'm sorry. I took a lot of time of yours. Sorry, forgive me, please.
Alhamdulillah, thank you so much. Inshallah, may we all achieve that state of being, inshallah, to always be in the presence of our absolute one. Anybody else who would like to share their thoughts? Farah, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Just want to make sure my voice is okay.
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, great. Jazakallah for that, Dr. Ali. It's like a reminder, necessary reminder. I sometimes find it actually beneficial to take or attend this class outside, because it serves, the outside environment serves as a good textbook to refer to as we read and listen to each other. So there were several things that came to mind, and I'll perhaps be combining them in some way or the other. Hopefully they will be articulate enough. The first thing that was coming to my mind was how one can experience, this journey, and as it has been being shown in this particular way. And I can say for myself too, I think like the first experience of like being introduced to the idea of meaning behind material or meaning, I think I always at my first stage of understanding this was, as these two things, there's a form and then there's a meaning, or there's a meaning behind it, and that we have to, transcend the form. And so there can be this sense of, the form being not important or something to discard, and not have any sort of value. But as I, also try to think about this topic more, and as Dr. Ali was mentioning, form and meaning are though we are bifurcating it, they are inherently one, that such that one is not without the other. And the process of this journey is to learn to see them as one, so that your interaction with form is inherently within it interaction with its meaning, and an interaction with a meaningful side points towards the idea that it must be manifested in my experience. So when I'm seeing with my eye, inherently I'm seeing with the power of sight endowed in me. And so this idea of thinking about form and meaning as being, when we have two eyes, it's about seeing with both of them such that the picture is complete. But if you just see with one eye, we always know that, we only see half of what is in front of us. So this idea of training ourselves to see form in meaning and meaning in form as one single experience is fascinating, in the sense that then as a whole, the universe as a whole, or man as a whole, or one ourselves as a whole, is the ultimate sort of, as the was being talked about this, the Quran in its incarnate form or personified form, is that the universe as a whole is represented in its meaning in the Quranic message, and vice versa. So I thought that was a very important lesson to overcome, of this apparent duality, but the idea being that no, it's supposed to be seeing with both eyes open, or however many eyes there might be, but seeing with both eyes open and seeing one single coherent image. But initially, it does appear that, in one's journey, you learn to first see them as two, and then over time, I guess, train oneself to combine them. And another thing that I was thinking about is, like, I think from last week, the idea of contingency, I thought was a very important reminder, and that's something that, was something on my mind about, like, okay, everything is contingent in its existence, but the contingency of qualities, and thinking about it more, wanted, I would probably need more theoretical and practical understanding of this concept, but the idea that one could be surrounded by, let's say, flowers or nature, or even dead flowers and plants or whatsoever, that in their existence, that their qualities of being alive or being dead, or even moving, as, being moved by the wind, or, being in an arrangement where leaves are, overlapping each other, all of those are qualities that are speaking to the existence of that source of those qualities. So in one's experience of, let's say, standing in front of a tree or around any creation, any atom, let's say, that thing in and of itself is testifying that that creator is present true in that very same moment. The presence of that creator is there. And of course, because it is not of the same nature of the things that are manifesting those qualities, we experience, we testify through, or everything around us is testifying to its presence. So hence, we become aware of its presence, such that the only thing that becomes conscious for our interaction or our experience is that being that everything else is testifying to. And so this idea that I think, as you were discussing, I think Brother Asim was discussing of Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Surah Fatiha, being the first few verses are of praise and of glorification, and then it gets to this idea of iyaka, like of this direct sort of almost like sudden realization that after one is seeing things testify in their or glorify the presence, then all your attention gets focused on that which is the source of those qualities, and essentially that which is present, necessarily present, and your attention gets drawn to that it, or that that undefined or unseen he concept. So yeah, thank you so much. And I think, like, this is interesting to me, like the last comment is the idea that I think it's been a few years only that we've been part of, or at least I've been only part of these classes, but I've been hearing the same words, like qualities of the creator, meaning, manifestation of the qualities of the source of being. But there's something amazing that I guess is part of this incessant activity of doing it and renewing this every day. And I think many people that, at least in my experience that I talk to, find it very sort of unnecessary or exhausting to try and conclude on these, necessary existence of the creator, like every day, let alone every moment. I think it is, in my conversations with people, taken as a futile or unnecessary step. Like, okay, once you've concluded it, why do you need to keep doing it again? But I find that that just from this experience of like, okay, the same words that we've been hearing, or I've been hearing for several years, seem to take on a new consciousness. So nothing that I said right now perhaps was unheard to anybody before, but perhaps within me there's a new consciousness or this new stitching together, such that things become from blurring to becoming more and more more clearer or more distinct in their picture. And so that needs to be an incessantly continuous process, in its method. So that's how I was reflecting on it. So thank you so much for renewing this for us all too. Jazakallah.
Thank you, Farah, for sharing your comments as well. Very meaningful. Would anybody else want to share anything? Okay. Yeah, I think you gave a lot of good summary as well. So Suhail, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. To Farah's point at the end, when she mentioned that, I may say that, okay, I concluded, or I made some sort of investigation and I'm done. I don't need to rethink it. But at the same time, I think why this presentation is so important in that seeing the manifestations, or really seeing the world or experiencing the world at any given moment, and then using whatever one's experience of the world is at any given moment and tracing back through reason where that takes oneself. Specifically, for example, he gives the example of a builder or a writer. So, coming across maybe a tree, or since Ramadan, maybe, when I break fast, iftar, food, for example, seeing that that there is some sort of provision, and therefore there must be a provider, and that provider must have the attribute of providing, in addition to what providing requires or necessitates, and that provider must not be of the nature of the food, and therefore not of the nature of this world, and I'm therefore being provided by that absolute provider at this very moment. Brings down that name, or some sort of it brings down that theoretical reasoning. I don't, maybe not theoretical is the right word, but sort of abstract reasoning down to the very practical aspect of my life. And, as Dr. Ali was saying, living with that consciousness of the creator at every moment. That is sort of reliance. For example, provision, my provision, I rely upon being provided by that absolute provider. And to me, that's the importance of being aware of it, if possible, at every moment. Because otherwise, if I simply just conclude and forget about it, then I'm not really taking into account what is happening to me at every moment. I'm simply just taking it for granted. In other words, it's impossible for me to not conclude or reflect. I can choose not to, or forget, or get lazy, but if I don't recognize what is happening, the process of what is happening, then I'm just simply taking for granted what is happening. I'm simply taking for granted that there is provision and that I'm being provided. Instead of understanding that it's not necessary that I be provided. It's not necessary that I have the need to be provided or be provided by that provider, but I am. So what does that mean? By bringing down these names in a very practical sense, it makes you live with it and be conscious of it and reflect on it at any given moment, possible moment, even if we choose not to do so, rather than thinking about it abstractly, making a conclusion, and then sort of forgetting about it.
Alhamdulillah, thank you, Suhail, for emphasizing that living consciously. It's not just theoretical, but practical as well. Inshallah, we can all do that. So, all right, let's continue on a little bit more. So on the basis then of this truth and principle, the universe with all the beings it contains resembles a collection of profound books, and letters written by the pen of divine determining, and countless buildings and palaces constructed with the hammer of divine power. Each of these, singly in thousands of ways, and together in uncountable ways, utters the following testimony. These innumerable dominical and merciful deeds, and the endless manifestations of the thousand and one divine names, which are the source of the deeds. The 1001 divine names, which are the source of the deeds, and the infinite manifestations of the 7 transcendent attributes, which are the source of the beautiful names. So those 7 prevalent attributes, I think that he mentioned, I think here, like basically the life-giving, powerful, knowledgeable, all-hearing, all-seeing, possessing absolute will, and speech endowed. Basically, there's talking and meaningful in their existence. So sacred 7 attributes qualified by them. And so too, all the instances of beauty, loveliness, perfection, and exquisiteness found in those beings self-evidently testify altogether to the sacred beauties and perfections of the dominical deeds and the divine names and attributes and qualities, which are fitting and worthy of them, and to the sacred beauty of the most pure and holy essence. So the truth of dominicality that manifests itself within the truth of activity reveals and makes itself known in qualities and acts such as creating, originating, fashioning, and bringing into being with knowledge and wisdom, determining, forming, administering, and changing with regularity and balance, transforming, causing to descend and perfecting with purpose and will, and feeding, nurturing, and bestowing generosity and bounty with tenderness and mercy. And within the truth of the manifestation of dominicality, the truth of the immediately perceived revelation of divinity makes itself known and recognized through the compassionate and beneficent manifestations of the beautiful names, and through the glorious and beauteous manifestations of the 7 attributes: life, knowledge, power, will, hearing, sight, and speech. I'm just going to read this paragraph again. So the truth of dominicality that manifests itself, the truth of dominicality that manifests itself within the truth of activity, reveals and makes itself known in qualities and acts. So makes itself known in qualities and acts, such as creating, originating, fashioning, and bringing into being. All are the acts that are being observed, and they show with knowledge and wisdom, determining, forming, administering, changing with regularity and balance, transforming, causing to descend and perfecting with purpose and will, and feeding, nurturing, and bestowing generosity and bounty, with tenderness and mercy. And within the truth of the manifestation of dominicality, the truth of the immediately perceived revelation of divinity, immediately perceived revelation of divinity, makes itself known and recognized through the compassionate and magnificent manifestations of the beautiful names and through the glorious and beauteous manifestations of the seven affirmative attributes: life, knowledge, power, will, hearing, sight, and speech. So this, again, I think is going back to that incessant activity, continuous, nonstop, and imperious, as Brother Ali was sharing his comments on that, and living with the awareness and consciousness of based on all the activity that is being manifested in front of us should wake us up in terms of, as we said, that the act requires an actor, building requires a builder, the art requires an artist. So I really have to engage with the universe in a way that I immediately perceive the qualities of the Absolute One. That is what living with belief or living with the consciousness would entail. All right, so if anybody has any comments, I think we'll stop here for today. If anybody has any other comment, Brother Ali, please go ahead.
Yes, we are approaching to the deadline. I think we are accustomed, or I am accustomed to thinking of the Creator as beings, obviously, cannot exist by themselves, and they cannot be the product of matter, mass of matter. Matter has no quality, I know that. But usually I reduce the concept of divine being to only a creator. But we see here that the author is introducing to the person who is traveler, or I think he was the traveler, isn't it? Yeah, the traveler, which is me. I have to go through these stages of journey, so that it will, the destination of my travel or journey will be a supreme divine being. In which sense? Not only in the sense of creator, but also lots of qualities alongside fashioning, bringing into being given wujud, existence, with knowledge, with wisdom, determining, forming, administering, changing, with regularity, with balance, transforming, causing, with purpose, or perfecting, uh, with purpose, with will, and feeding, nurturing, and bestowing generosity and bounty, with tenderness and mercy. Oh, and within the truth of manifestation of dominicality, what else? So, this divine being, all the attributes of God, the seven attributes of God, attributes are mainly manifesting themselves, but there's subdivisions which are called names. These attributes are life, knowledge, power, will, hearing, sight, sense, speech. But as a result of these attributes, so the one who wills what? Not only the act of creating, but also act of originating, bringing into being, and also hearing or seeing. This act of creating is taking place with knowledge, wisdom, determining, forming, administrating, changing, regularity, balance, transforming, and with purpose, will, feeding, nurturing. The act of creation has all these different aspects manifesting itself at the same time, universe wise, continuously, incessantly. So we have to develop and improve our simple way of putting Creator God with these qualities so that we will not fall into making a mistake by attributing God created this, but it is doing that. God created this, but the nature is improving, nature is beautifying or adapting itself. Oh God, what's going on? Can they? Can they? So we have to be conscious of all these qualities as much as we can perceive in the world, not limited to these qualities, names, but endless qualities we find. We must be aware that these qualities are the manifestations of the one who gives existence to them, to the whole universe, the divine being. So divine being can only be acknowledged and understood with all the names manifested in the universe. So we have to work on it as much as possible, as many qualities as we can perceive in the existence of the universe. So we have to be sensitive to the qualities manifested in the things. For example, we say the flower is beautiful. No, balanced as well, well performed as well, well formed as well. And also the flower is the source of nourishing, feeding generously. And in this nourishment, feeding to the animals or feeding the need of my sense of beauty is taking place tenderly, mercifully. No difficulties that I can acknowledge them. It means I think we have to try to expand our understanding of the divine being with as many as we can names and qualities, be aware of it. Inshallah, that is our job. Consciousness of the creation, consciousness of our abilities, I think it is required to be taken seriously. We have to be conscious of our own reality. We can understand all of them. We are given the equipment, tools So we should use them. Unfortunately, when I look at my life, I am just lost in one thing. Why this man said to me, how this event can happen to me. Oh, this kind of petty, simple, very limited considerations occupies all my life. It's not worth it. But be aware of the source of all these things happening with their qualities and get in touch with them through acknowledgement, through admiration, through praising, through thanking, being grateful to him, etc., etc. These are the advice. This is the advice for myself. Really. I found myself losing my own self. For example, if I'm doing something, let's say, oh, there is no onion. Oh, what shall I do now? As if the whole universe becomes meaningless and black in my eye because of the lack of one item that I'm cooking for. If the item is required in the, what's it called? Among the ingredients,
Recipe.
recipe, yes. Oh, without this, I know that I'm going to do this soup, but this soup requires something. Let's say black seed, black pepper. I'm run out of black pepper. Come on. Yes, it is okay to go and buy, but this is not the end of the world, and this is not only concern that I have to lose myself. I need to lose myself in it. I think we have to expand our perception of existence, perception of our needs, what we need. We need absolute divine being who has these qualities, always revealing himself to me in my feelings, in the universe, and through my needs. Through my needs, speaking to me. You are in need of it. I am the one who's satisfying it. Pay attention to it. Thank you very much. MashaAllah, it was an excellent, excellent text that we read today. I'm very pleased. It is very refreshing, reminding, MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, I'll see you next week.
Alhamdulillah, thank you so much for all the contributions. Yes, you're right. Very refreshing. MashaAllah. Thank you so much, everyone. Alhamdulillah. All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma alamtana. Innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. It's a beautiful reminder, alhamdulillah, we just get tied with the petty things and, lose ourselves in them and look at the grand scheme of all the qualities we are just immersed in. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.